How many of you have ever heard that deeper voice within you? You know, that one that says, I'd love to travel the world, or learn how to play guitar, or start my own business. How many of you have ever heard that voice, but then immediately brushed it off because your mind came in loud and clear with the fears, doubts, and shoulds, saying something like, that dream of mine? That's not possible. Or, who am I to go and do that? Or, my favorite, I shouldn't even try because what if I fail? Trust me, I've heard them too. But let me tell you about a decision that has drastically changed my life. It's a shift I made 7 years ago that seemed very subtle in the moment. But the more I stuck with it over time, the more it showed me how powerful it really was. So powerful that it's helped me transform from my lowest points in life to my highest, from being deeply unfulfilled to experiencing this love for life that I didn't even know existed. And believe it or not, it even brought me on an adventure of a lifetime that consisted of moving 5,000 miles away from home to a place I'd never been and didn't know anyone. Now, before we get into that, because that's a lot, come with me as we time travel back to 2017, where this life-changing decision first took place. Picture this. We enter a quiet corporate office in small town, upstate New York. As we walk under the bright fluorescent lights and past the sea of gray cubicles, we spot a young woman in the back corner working her safe 9-to-5 job. She's sitting at her desk, and from the outside, we would think this girl had it all figured out. After all, she did just receive news that at only 23 years old, she's getting promoted, hiring team members on her team, and yeah, even getting another pay raise. This was it. She was following this path laid out for her, and quite frankly, she was succeeding in it. She worked hard throughout school to achieve moments just like this. She made it. But I was that girl. And on the inside, I was living an entirely different story. Nobody knew it, but there I sat at my desk, deeply depressed, anxious, unfulfilled, and no longer able to ignore this deeper voice within me that whispered, is this all there is to life? I would hear it say, there's got to be more to life than an unfulfilling job, a mundane routine, and a mediocre adulthood. What I didn't know was that I wasn't the only one feeling this way. On one Wednesday that seemed just like any other, I woke up and got ready for work, but had a gut feeling that something was going to change that day. I definitely wasn't expecting this, though. I walked into the office and went about my day as normal, but soon learned there was actually nothing normal about that day. When a fellow coworker didn't show up for her shift, my team and I naturally got concerned. We later learned it was because she silently took her own life the night before. We were devastated. We had no idea that she felt that way, even though we worked closely with her every day. And even through the grief, we had to continue on with business as usual the best that we could. But from that moment on, something changed within me. Because I refused to sit in meetings and talk about these trivial topics while wondering how many other people were also feeling depressed, anxious, unfulfilled, and dreaming of more. That's when I made a new life-altering decision. Because for the first time, I heard that deeper voice within me that said, there's got to be more to life than this. And instead of dismissing it like I always would, I decided to listen. Instead of just writing it off as nonsense, I decided to get curious. And instead of only thinking from my head, I decided to let my soul lead the way, and it drastically changed my life. Here's my question for you. What if your soul, aka that deeper voice within you, you can call this your gut, your heart, your intuition, I call it my soul. What if it's your greatest asset? What if it's actually your own custom inner GPS that's trying to guide you on how to live your life to the fullest? So with not much more than just a curiosity to see what would happen if I actually led with my soul first. I was amazed to see that the more that I did, the more my life transformed before my very eyes. And while I thought I was the only one feeling unfulfilled, what I learned is that there's a statistic out there that Simon Sinek has shared that over 90% of people are unfulfilled with their work at the end of the day. 90%. So while I thought I was the only one, I quickly found out that wasn't the case, and I chose to do something about it, but this time with my new approach. Instead of asking myself, what should I do? I got curious and asked, what do I truly want? What I learned was the life I thought I should be living was vastly different than the life my soul was calling me towards. And the more that I began to let my soul, those deeper callings within me, speak up and revive all these dreams I once had as a kid, I was amazed to see that my soul really did serve as my inner GPS and how to live life to the fullest. For example, while I was working in this corporate job, my soul was calling me to start my own business. While I was living in a small town in New York, my soul was calling me to live somewhere warm and by the ocean. And while I was filling my time doom scrolling on social media, my soul was calling me to new adventures and experiences outdoors. 2 months after making this life-changing decision, I really did quit that corporate job and start my own business from scratch. Then a few years after that, I really did find myself in an airport security line with a one-way ticket in one hand while waving goodbye to my parents and the life I had known in the other, as I bravely listened to a calling in my soul that said, what if we up and move from New York to Hawaii? Truthfully, these big leaps of faith didn't make sense to a lot of people. On the surface, they seemed foolish, illogical, and naive. People didn't understand why I would quit my job or up and move across the country away from family, friends, and familiarity. But on what I call the soulful, meaning in my own soul, even through the fears and the doubts, I just knew that these were things that I was called to pursue, and I was more interested in seeing what happened when I did pursue them versus facing the regret of not going for it at all. I'll fill you in on a secret, though. I'd be lying if I told you this whole journey was easy, because it definitely wasn't. That first day that I landed in Hawaii, which is still where I live today, I sat on the rocks looking out as far as I could see over the horizon, realizing that, yes, in fact, I was on an island in the middle of the ocean where I had never been and didn't know anyone. And then I quickly asked myself, Lexi, what the hell did you just get yourself into? But the more I stuck with it over time, trusting that deeper voice within me, the better it became, and the more life showed me what was really possible. Then before I knew it, I had traded those daily anxiety attacks I'd get in the office for new daily adventures like early morning hikes or surf sessions where I can't help but smile. Because there was this new sense of fulfillment that came from not only seeing my dreams turn into reality right in front of my very eyes, but also from starting to notice and appreciate these small, beautiful, everyday moments that filled my life. Like when you're paddling out to surf, and a sea turtle pops its head up out of the water next to you as if to say, good morning. Or when you're waiting for a wave and you watch the sunrise over the mountains in the background, sometimes even giving you this big, beautiful rainbow if you're lucky. Since I started to experience these new levels of happiness, fulfillment, and success from leading with my soul first, I got curious and asked, am I an outlier? Or does leading with your soul and letting it serve as your inner GPS help others live their lives to the fullest too? Through my work with a variety of clients, I've come to learn that it wasn't just me. Nor does leading with your soul mean you have to make these giant leaps of faith, like quitting your job or moving across the country. You can lead with soul especially in, small, everyday moments. The more my clients began to listen to and act upon the callings in their soul, which called them to do things like start the podcast or spend more quality time with their kids, or just do things in a way that were different than the norm, the more confident, fulfilled, and successful they became while living their own lives to the fullest. So then I took it a step further and I asked, if this approach has worked for me and it's worked for my clients, is there any evidence that shows that it's worked for people who have greatly influenced our world. What I found is that research shows that only 21% of people follow their heart when making a decision. Yet leaders, such as Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, and Albert Einstein, all led with their soul and even attributed their immense success to following their intuition. Steve Jobs even said, "Intuition is a very powerful thing, more powerful than intellect." And he added, "This approach has never let me down and has made all the difference in my life." So, if your soul really does serve as your inner GPS on how to live your life to the fullest, how do you start to listen to it? Step 1, you actually have to listen. Just like any muscle in your body, the more you start to practice listening to and hearing your soul, the stronger it becomes and the easier it is to hear. Start by asking yourself, what do I truly want? What did I used to dream of as a kid? Or if time and money were no issue, what would I love to do? Step 2, let the answers be expressed without your mind getting in the way. When you start to listen to your soul, your mind is going to come up with all of those fears, doubts, and reasons why you shouldn't pursue this dream. But what if we made the mindset switch from fear to faith? Instead of asking, what if I go for it and it goes wrong? Let's ask, what if I go for it and it goes way better than I can even imagine? There's power in anticipating all the positive possibilities that could happen for you instead of just thinking about the negative things that could go wrong. And then step 3, it's time to actually trust and take the next step that your soul is telling you to take, even if you're afraid. Just like a normal GPS, your soul knows the way, but it'll only give you one turn direction at a time, and it'll give it to you when you're ready. Your job is to listen, trust, and take the next step you're being given, even through the fear. I'll leave you with this. According to science, the odds of you being born are 400 trillion to 1. It is literally a miracle that you are here right now. For perspective, you have much better odds of winning the lottery than you do being born. And yet, an Australian caregiver named Bronnie Ware wrote a memoir called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. While working as a caregiver, she would sit with those experiencing their final days and ask them about their lives. The top number 1 regret? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Most people are living as if their life is a given, their time is unlimited, and there's only one traditional path for them to take. But in this one precious life that you've been given, where is your inner GPS, your soul, trying to take you? Thank you.